Damn it, Roach.
Welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. We've got Doug Cockle. Thank you so much for joining us. Doug, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. How are you, Ruben?
Yeah, good. I'm happy that the weather is cooled down now. We're out of our crazy long heat wave. It was killing me. How are you dealing with the better weather?
It's good. I like the cooler weather as well, but I'm kind of disappointed because usually, and it's climate change, isn't it? Usually this time of the year, it's kind of more 13, 14 degrees Celsius, and it's been 20 for a good portion of this week.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, sometimes even in August it doesn't get up to 20.
But obviously I grabbed you because I wanted to chat about some very exciting news and get your kind of initial response. I'm sure you're excited about it. But CD Projekt Red recently has just been on the warpath for like, this is our future, this is what we're going to do. They announced a bunch of Witcher titles, like a new trilogy, all named, special code names, Canis Majoris, and very cool code names, by the way. I quite like that. But then on Tuesday, I think it was, they announced a remake of the initial Witcher, the Witcher game, which was back in 2007. So I was going to get you to talk to us about what that was like way back in 2007, if you can remember what that whole experience was like coming into that character then. And I presume, I don't know if they've called you in yet, but I presume at some point you'll be asked to come and, maybe redo some lines. I imagine they want to, because it's all fresh, it's Unreal Engine 5. They're making it from scratch, and we've had some amazing remakes recently, where they've done it from scratch. So it's really exciting for the fans that love this trilogy, and it is one that really, the graphics are so old now. You look at the design, they're really blocky compared to what we have now. So your excitement, what do you think about this?
I think it's fantastic. It's amazing. People have been asking me for years if I thought CD Projekt would remake some of the Witcher 1 and Witcher 2. And I honestly didn't know, but I've always been hopeful because I think what it will do is it will actually potentially bring even more people into the Witcher world. Witcher 3 is so fantastic, and the DLCs. And a lot of people still find it a little bit challenging to play 1 and sometimes 2 as well, just because of the platforms that they came out on. And I think that, if they remake Witcher 1, the original one, with Unreal, it probably allow them to also make it accessible on many more platforms. So it could end up, being available on Switch, on the newest consoles, on gaming PCs that aren't super spec'd out and stuff like that, So I think it might actually just raise the accessibility of that early game.
My son's messed around with Unreal Engine 5, and he says it's amazing, like what it actually can do. It's so hands-on to people coming in, knowing nothing about it really, and playing with it, seeing what you can create. And then those that are really knowledgeable, just it's like the world is your oyster. It allows you to create so much. Which is why a lot of the new companies that are not necessarily AAA, more classed as AA, are able to make their games stand out and look like AAA platforms or what they can do, which is great. So I think it's gonna look awesome. Have you heard from CD Projekt yet? Are you thinking it's gonna happen? What's the news on that side?
Well, I am very much not in the inner circle of CD Projekt's discussions about what they're doing. I'm as on the outside as everybody else. So no, they haven't reached out to me yet. I don't know if they will. I assume they will, but as my dad always says, never assume. It makes an ass of you and me.
Okay.
So
wise words.
Yeah. I didn't get it the first time he said it. I was like, huh? And I went, oh, yeah, that's how you spell assume. Anyways, I certainly hope so. I would love to go back and revisit Witcher 1. I have no idea. I'm only just thinking about this now. I have no idea if they're just going to use the dialogue recorded originally and just rebuild the visuals. I imagine that they'll want to do some tweaking in the rebuild. So that may mean bringing people back in for voiceover work. But I have no idea what their intention is.
I can't see it not happening, because having played some of the remakes that have been made from the ground up, the most of the dialogue has stayed the same, but there's been a bunch of add-ons because of what there is available to them now with the tools. Perhaps back then they weren't able to do that. There's so much more they can do that. So even though it's a remake, I think the whole story will be there still, but they may want to put some add-ins of things that they won't be able to do. Maybe a slight storyline with an old woman and a pan. There could be something like just little add-ons for the fans.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. But I learned long ago to never assume anything in this business. So I will be overjoyed to reprise my role in Witcher 1 as Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah.
And should I not reprise it, I will be disappointed.
Yep. That would be a fair assumption, I presume. Do you remember what that was like, that first Witcher? I mean, I know it's back in 2007.
It's actually longer than that. We recorded, or at least I recorded, all of Geralt's lines for Witcher in the spring of 2005.
Of course, because once it's released, all the work has gone in already. So
yeah. So it's been a really long time. I remember that was back in the days when the voiceover industry was still, it still is the Wild West in many ways. Compared to other acting industry areas, like film and television and theater and stuff like that. The world of voiceover, particularly for games, is still very much finding itself. But back then, it didn't even know what it was. It was it's a terrible metaphor, but it's true. I remember. See nowadays, unless there's a really good reason, no voice actor records for more than 4 hours in a session,
right,
in a day,
because it messes up your voice.
Because it can be a real strain on the voice, and then you're actually depleting the very thing that the voice actor is offering to the project. Yeah. So there are more protections, there's more awareness, more understanding today about that. And but when we recorded Witcher 1, that awareness and those developments hadn't happened yet. So we just recorded until we couldn't do it anymore, or until the day was done.
Anymore?
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Was it like lemon juice and hot toddies and stuff in the morning then?
Lots of tea and stuff like that, and lots of trying to relax my voice in the evening. It was a very intensive recording period. This may not be absolutely true because it is now nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The way I remember it is we would start recording around 9 or 10 in the morning, and we would continue, and we'd take breaks and things. We'd go out for lunch and things like that. But we often wouldn't finish until 5 or 6 in the evening, in the afternoon. So that makes for a really long day of voiceover work. And when I first started doing Geralt's voice, it was a much more difficult voice to achieve for me, for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Partly because what the developers wanted was this really low, gravelly voice, and I could go there, but it was a strain, and just long days as well. It's after 3 or 4 hours of doing a low, gravelly voice that you've never really done before. You feel it. So after 8 or 9 hours, you really feel it, and then, if I remember correctly, we basically recorded. I seem to remember 7 or 10 days, something like that. But it may have only been a week, or it may have been a Monday to Friday and then another Monday and Tuesday. I just remember it being very short, very intensive, and a lot of the days feeling very long. Because it's also a lot of time for you as an actor to put your head in that creative space. It does take it out of you. I was knackered.
I bet.
But I was really excited as well because this was a whole fantasy world I knew nothing about. The books weren't out in English yet, so I had to rely entirely on the developers to explain what a lesson was, to to describe Geralt and his background and what the Witchers were and are and all of that stuff. So but it was just another job as well. And I know CD Projekt probably won't like me saying that, but it's true. Every job is just another job, and it's also the best job ever. That's the way it works as a freelancer, you know. I was super excited about it, but this was a young game developer. It was their first real game. So nobody really knew what was going to happen. You know, there was this world that I'd never heard of, and nobody that I knew of in the West who didn't speak Polish and could read the books in Polish. Nobody knew about The Witcher. So I was really excited to see it come out and see what happened. And it was fun to watch because I mean, I wasn't following it that closely. I was teaching full time at the same time that we were, you know, doing all this Witcher stuff. So this Witcher stuff, like, it's just stuff. It's not. It's amazing stuff. So I didn't follow it really closely, but there were some Reddit forums and various other things. I think I saw on Amazon there were reviews for it and things like that. And I can't remember now if it was Witcher 1 or Witcher 2, but somebody posted on there saying, but the guy who plays the main voice, it sounds like a 16-year-old trying to do a 40-year-old's voice. And I was like, dude, I'm 40.
Dude, have you seen me?
Well, nobody cared back then who the voice actors were.
Yeah, true.
We just did our job, and then the game came out, and everybody loved the game, but nobody
didn't really know about all of the goings on behind the scenes.
No, and now people are much more interested in not only the voice actors. I mean, in some ways they've become stars of a sort, but the developers as well. You know, the directors, the art directors, the concept artists, the musicians and composers. You know, people are now much more aware of the people behind the game. And that's really exciting. That's something that's changed a lot. So yeah, when Witcher 1 first came out, it was just a game out there, and it was kind of fun to see it come out. And it developed a really great cult following in the gaming world. I think when it first came out, though, you could only play it on PC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and you had to have a computer that would do it. And mine, I put the disc in. Remember the days of CD-ROMs?
Compact discs, yes.
So, you know, I put the disc into my computer, booted it up, and it managed to play the opening cinematic of the game, and but a little bit jumpy. And then I tried to play the game, and it lit. I just couldn't.
It's like spitting it back out at you. Like,
yeah, really. Yeah, smoke coming out of the back of my CPU. You know, that kind of experience. So
amazing. A couple of years back, we spoke about because at the time you were doing some extra bits for CD with like the games that they were doing in conjunction with The Witcher. So you had a character in a fighting game, and you had to do some voice work back then for that. And I think it was even then I was asking, do you think you'd be involved in 2077 Cyberpunk? And we didn't know. And when the game came out, obviously it didn't come out like with the greatest reviews because it was pretty broken. Well, my experience of it was broken. I recently went back, played it. They fixed a lot of it. Great game, great story, loving it. But I went and hunted and found there's a lot of actual references to The Witcher. And some side missions, but I still didn't hear your voice. And I was really hoping for that little Easter egg of Doug in there somewhere. But they've also announced a sequel to that. So, as a fan of your voice work in the games and the character that you've carried, or at least the English version, with the remake that I'm hoping, this is a long-winded kind of comment, with the remake that comes out, hopefully you'll get some lines, but I'm hoping off the back of that you'll maybe have a nice tie-in, because we've always had that tie-in already with Ciri, you know, mentioning it in the game. What have been your responses? Here comes the question after that paragraph, my TED talk. What have been some of the responses to some of your fans that, because I know you've been continuing going to the conventions and their questions. What do you say to them when they ask like the same thing? Why aren't you involved in that? Like, we want you there, because obviously you have a good fan group, and I think you can see that just by how people love the game, but also love the work that you put in with your voice. Your experiences of that recently.
Well, the probably the most commonly asked question is, will you be in Witcher 4? Everybody's calling it. I don't know if that's what CD Projekt are calling it, but people on the street are calling it Witcher 4, which is not what it's going to be.
I think it's a new trilogy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's what they've said, but that doesn't mean that Geralt's involved.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that his adventure is continuing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've said repeatedly that Geralt's story is finished. So
And he's tired. He's gone through a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he used to be tired. Now he's retired. Yeah, so he's hanging out at Corvo Bianco now.
Yeah, probably.
Growing his grapes and making wine.
Yep.
Which is where all good witchers should end their days. Really.
With Trish or Yennefer.
Oh wow, that's up to the player, isn't it?
Yeah. Some fans are like, how dare you choose Yennefer?
Yeah. Well, I've made my personal decision on that quite public.
Oh, really?
Okay. And when I played the game, I chose Triss. And,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to Yennefer. I just like the Geralt Triss dynamic better than the Geralt Yen dynamic in terms of romance and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like dark brooding passion, go with Yen, man.
That is a dark story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the most commonly asked question, and I mean, I get asked all kinds of things. How many hours did it take you to record all that? And I honestly don't remember. I make wild guesses. Yeah. I do tell them though that the time period during which we were recording was about 3 years.
Gosh, that is a long period.
Yeah, but I'm including when I went in to do the very first E3 trailer, and then recording the main game, and then the DLCs, and then pickups, and that whole journey was about 3 years if I remember correctly. So it does take time to do all this stuff.
Nice. For the fans, what is the most common line that people ask you to repeat?
Most people don't actually ask me to repeat anything. They just say, "Can you?"
Okay.
Well, no. What they usually do is they say, "Can you say something as Geralt?"
All right. Okay.
And the ball's in my court. So
right. Okay.
So then what I tend to default to is either something like "Winds howling," or "Damn it, Roach," or something that some people do ask me to say occasionally. And they ask me to write it on autographs. I'll say toucan, and then what they want me to write is, "Damn, you're ugly." Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So it's toucan. Damn, you're ugly,
Oh, no,
Doug.
Really? Wow. Thank you very much. Happy
It's
birthday.
kind of crazy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wait, this is a gift for them? Oh, okay, great. Happy birthday, and damn, you're ugly.
That is funny. People are funny. Have you been gifted your own figurine yet from either CD or a fan?
CD Projekt, when Witcher 3 first came out, they sent me the collector's edition box, very, very kindly, which included the little statuette of Geralt fighting the Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got that, and I have some friends who send me things occasionally, and I keep telling them, "Don't stop sending me stuff." Hannah, you know who you are, because not because I don't like them or anything like that. It's just because I don't have anywhere to put most of these things.
To display them.
Exactly. So they just end up in boxes, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
This was sent to me recently. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, it's just a little mini.
Yeah.
Of Geralt casting
Nice.
Igni, I think is what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
But it comes on this little base. It doesn't quite
Doesn't quite stay.
stay. Yeah, I'll have to fix it.
They
later.
always do. Their little plastic feet kind of lean one way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like those old. I can't remember what they were like. They were like army men, but you could plug them into different bases and stuff. But yeah, so this little Geralt figurine has been hanging out with me in my booth here for I don't know a month or
That's cool.
two.
Someone needs to send you a sword, a Geralt sword, so you can display. Just put it out in your wall.
Do you know? I was sorely tempted. I was at Comic-Con Scotland recently up in Edinburgh, and 4 or 5 people brought to my table swords that they had bought. Somebody in the hall was selling both the silver and the steel sword
Amazing
thing, and they were actual steel
swords.
They weren't
Bet they
sharp
cost a
or
bit.
anything. They weren't that bad, actually. I think I remember.
really?
I asked one guy. I said, "I hope you don't mind, but I'm just curious. What did you pay for this?" And I think he said 140 pounds.
That isn't bad for actual steel.
Yeah, it was actual steel. It had a really lovely scabbard, and it had I think this guy, he had the two wolf heads design coming out for the pommel.
Nice.
And I just,
I would lose money.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I was tempted. I thought, well, maybe I'll just wander over there and buy myself a couple of swords, and then I could hang them up behind me here.
Yeah,
that would be a bit of fun.
Next time.
Yeah, what do I have coming up? Well, actually, there is a game coming out on Halloween, October 31st, and it's called Thankskilling Day.
Great title.
And fantastic title. And there's a whole story behind it. But it's basically these two guys. One of them I know, a guy named Brett, and I met him at Liverpool Comic Con where he was my handler, and we just hit it off. Really enjoyed each other's company, and his partner as well, Emily. And Brett, he's a streamer, and I don't know how this whole thing happened, but basically he had a friend in the States, and I guess his friend knows something about game development. I'm not entirely sure what the story is. Anyways, they got together and they decided they were going to make a game. They decided they were going to learn how to do Unreal Engine.
Amazing.
And yeah, so that's what they've done. They've learned how to use Unreal Engine. They came up with this whole concept and they built this game, and it's a horror game. And basically, you're stuck in a house. You're a kid, and you're stuck in a house, and there's a killer who's killed various members of your family, and you have to escape him, and he's following you around. And you also have to solve these puzzles and stuff. And
Nice.
I've managed to see I haven't played it myself yet, but Brett and Scott, the developers, they were showing it to me when we were talking about me getting involved. And it looks really great fun. So it's a great horror game for the Halloween season, and it comes out on Monday. And I can't remember exactly where it comes out, but
I imagine Steam
sure
is the initial place.
I think so. There was somewhere else as well, though.
Epic Store?
I'm not sure. I
I
can't
will
remember.
find the information. I'll put it in the description below,
Okay.
so people can click and
Yeah.
find out about it. Sounds great. Sounds like perfect timing for like the Halloween Michael Myers sort of like chasing you around the house sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
doing puzzles. Like, can you just wait while you kill me? I've got this puzzle to do.
That's exactly what it is, so it builds the tension because you're always kind of looking over your shoulder.
Oh, great.
So that's one to look forward to.
Sounds really fun. Perfect timing, actually. Yeah.
Next time, yeah.
Well, Doug, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the remake as news develops. If someone speaks to you, I'm sure I will badger you and say, "Come, let's talk about it again." But I really appreciate you taking the time to talking to me about this again. Thank you.
No problem, Ruben. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, look forward to the remake of Witcher 1. Who knows when it's going to come out? They haven't said yet.
Hopefully not 2077 or in 8 years. I'm sure. Fingers crossed it's quicker than that.
Yeah, I would hope so. Well, they've got all the writing and everything, don't they? They might just do some tweaking on it.
Yeah, it's there. They've got the skeleton.
Yeah, so they don't have to design the whole game. Although they've decided to hire I can't remember the name of the company.
Yeah, there's another
now.
studio involved, isn't there?
Yeah, and they're based in the U.S., I think, on the East Coast somewhere.
Yeah.
I've been reading about all this stuff. Sometimes it goes in my eyes and comes out my toes. And
the amount of information we consume daily that we're scrolling on our phones, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's been a pleasure, Ruben. And hi, all the Ruby Tuesday folk.